If you're looking to build an Ableton live looping setup similar to ARIatHome, this is the video for you. I'm going to walk you through exactly how I built my own template that took over 50 hours and give it to you for free. I'm going to show you exactly how you can loop any sounds you want inside of Ableton and have easy access to be able to control all the parameters within that set, like your volumes, your on-off, stops, starts, record, undo, all that stuff. I'm going to show you how to live loop vocals, instruments, bass, MIDI, and anything your heart desires with physical knobs for everything, similar to how ARIatHome does his live looping. This is designed for musicians, producers, and loopers who want a powerful live jamming rig at home. This is not for walking around. That's a totally different setup. It's best if you're looking to create full tracks or improvise live and jam with yourself or jam with friends, with maximum physical control to every parameter in the set. I took inspiration from ARIatHome, but rebuilt his entire set entirely in Ableton Live, so I didn't have to use the Boss RC505 that he uses to loop. I think the best way to show off some of the potential of this live setup is to do a demo. So I'm going to do a demo just showing off some of the capabilities and what's possible with this ARIatHome live looping setup. To make this setup work, you're going to need a few MIDI controllers. In my case, I've chosen a Machine Micro MK3, MIDI Twister Fighter, and a Novation Control XL, as well as a MIDI keyboard. I've chosen just this complete 49 key. You're going to need to buy around $20 Max for Live device, and you're going to need a computer that can handle a decent CPU load because this set is decently CPU intensive. You're also going to need to own Ableton in order to be able to set this up. This is a more advanced setup. It's going to take some time really for the MIDI mappings and kind of getting everything sorted for yourself. Once you have it though, it's pretty plug and play. You just kind of get in there and you get into the flow state and can make music really fast and easy. Okay, let's jump into the Ableton set. The foundation of this set is 5 looping tracks and 5 input tracks. This is the 11th track. That's just some drum loops for fun. Each of these 5 looping tracks is powered by this one button live looper. The guy who makes this is really cool, really smart at making Max for Live devices. And this essentially allows you to do things like, let's say we're on scene 7, so we can record our mic here. I'm going to turn up the input on my mic, and then I'm going to turn off effects on there and go yo, 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 yo. On there and go yo, 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 yo. And we have it yo on there and go yo, 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 yo. We can undo that then. What this one button live looper lets you do is essentially be able to control per scene. So I have 16 scenes set up, and I can basically, I have a dummy clip telling each of these scenes, record this Max for Live device to each one of these, record a clip, and then I have like 10 clips. So for my mic looping section, I can have up to 10 clips, and I can basically record them by pressing this one button. So I can press 1 to record, and whatever I say here, it's going to be looped, and then I could undo that. I could lay up to 10 layers of that, as well as then I could, let's say, lay down some drums. So let's turn up all these faders. These control each individual looping track. You'll see the faders moving for each. So let's press 3 to record drums. You'll see it my mapping goes in order of each thing I'm trying to record. This is mics, anything in the mic, my voice or samples. This is my electric guitar, drums, MIDI, and bass. So yeah, if I want to record some drums, you can turn on the metronome. Okay, really sloppy there, but that's okay. We have full control over that. We can do as many tracks as we want. I just set up 10. You can fully customize the one button live looper to however you want, how many tracks you want to control and which scene to control. So basically I set up so I can control 16 scenes with these dummy clips. So that's really a beautiful thing about this whole setup is you have full customizable control over any instrument or sound you want to play. I haven't even dug into the launch control and what it can do. For instance, let's play the demo track pretty low. And basically you have full control over, let's say we want to turn down the guitars. That's on track 2 because we know the input, well, I call this live instrument, but it's basically my guitar, anything I have a 1/4" jack in. And we can turn that down. The input is actually volume right here, so we can turn the volume in for our input up or down. We can turn the loop up or down. We can stop the loop, you see right here, or we can record another layer onto the loop and then stop that layer. And then if we want to undo that layer. So there's a huge power right there. We can bring them all down, all up, just like the Boss RC 505 can. You know, you can stop multiple, you can bring in multiple. It's really flexible and musical. All of these control the individual inputs for the mic in, instrument in, drum in, and MIDI in, bass in. Really cool stuff. The rest of these knobs and faders all do different stuff that I'm going to go over in a second. I have this set up so scene changes are handled via dummy clips like I mentioned, and basically if you don't know what that is, really simple. Basically a dummy clip is a clip that has no audio, and I'm basically just telling scene selection, I'm telling this one button live looper that I'm on scene 1 here, and then this one's on scene 2, this one's on scene 3, so that when we press, if we want to do a new scene, we go to 8, and now when we press record bass, we're on scene 8 and not scene 7 or 6. And then we also have a button that can delete all the loops at once, and that's knowing to delete them just at scene 8, or we can undo just one at scene 8. Really beautiful. Okay, now I'm going to talk on the inputs because there's some really cool stuff here. Again, you're getting this whole live set. I'm going to modify it slightly because I can't give you everything for free because I bought some of this, but I'm going to give you as much as possible. Note that I'm not going to go over the MIDI mapping in this video. I'm going to have to make a separate video on how to MIDI map this whole set because there is pretty not super complex MIDI mapping, but there's just a lot of it, and there's a little bit more complex MIDI mapping if you do have a MIDI Twister Fighter, if you choose to use that. So it's randomizing the entire set. I've hand selected all these samples and volume matched them, so they're all pretty relative and done a lot of work, a lot of processing and stuff on them. It's not perfect, but it's pretty cool. And then you can select between these drum kits. So you can go, there's a live drums. These are SSD. Basically look up SSD drums. They're free, I'm pretty sure. Really cool live drums. I have these set up in a way for finger drumming that I learned from this guy like Dragon Drummer. I'm not going to go over that right now, but that's how my stuff's set up. And then I just have some random miscellaneous stuff. Tablas, Ableton kits. I can't give you the plugins. Obviously, you're going to have to choose your own drums here. One thing I will give you knowledge is throughout this set, I have used the idea of keeping the CPU as low as possible by turning off any VSTs that aren't being used. So how that works in practice, if I have these live drums selected, you can see that when I unselect them, it turns the instrument off and therefore saving CPU. So you only have, a certain amount of one VST basically for the drums, and then I'll show you the other stuff, but basically only have a few things going at one time. This saves you in CPU power. I'm going to probably have to record a different video on how to do this. You can totally look up using chain selector to save CPU on Ableton. It did take me a few videos to figure it out. A simple way to look at it though is basically you go to your chain selector and you go to the VST that you want to basically map the on and off button. You right click that on and off button and you map it to a parameter and basically a macro. And then you're going to map this macro. You're going to map this macro to that same macro. And basically, I'm just basically changing. All I'm doing is changing this chain selector. And when I move this chain selector, it's choosing different VSTs. And then you have to go here for the last thing and map basically. You can see that live drums, they're on from 12 to 17. And then the cajon is basically on to 18 to 13. So that's saying when I have MIDI 18 to 13, just the cajon is on. So it says device on, you can see that. So I'm basically just mapping this to a macro. Okay, let's go over my other favorite setup I did. This is a keyboard workstation. Basically, I have full control over lots of different sounds. I have this set up the same way, so when something's on, if I'm selecting just these keys with the chain selector, it's only on. The rest of these VSTs aren't on. You're gonna have to load up your favorite sounds. What this allows you to do is have sound very easily customizable. You have volume control and you have parameters, VST patches that you can choose. And then you can add another layer of other sounds by just choosing these guys. And then add them together. Turn this one down. You can also bring this one in. This is another set of pads and horns and stuff. You get really cool sounds really fast, and then on top of that you could add effects by turning on the effects, and you can add some reverb, some delay, some echo, some gating, some EQ, some low pass, some arpeggiation. Just like that, you can get some really cool effects really fast. These effects, just having them at my fingertips has been one of the game changers in Ableton, because it's just so much faster than like, oh, I want to load up a reverb or delay. It's just like I can just do whatever I want on whatever sound I want. I could have this on the same thing on the drums. If I turn, I can turn basically with this knob. I'm saying the drums can now get these effects, turning them on, and now they're getting these effects. Or my guitar. It's not sound great right now, but you can do whatever effects you want. Or you can say, on the drums, I don't want those effects. You don't want tons of delay. Or on the guitar, I don't want them. Or on the bass, or on the piano. So that's really flexible too. One thing I forgot to show is you can also have full control of the pitch on your drums, which can lead to some really fun little accidents. That's on the first drum rack that I showed you, the hybrid drum rack. Okay, let's look at how I set up the bass inputs. Essentially, you'll see the same thing happening here. I have basically 3 sets of different sounds. This is a bass guitar, 808s, and some subs. And I can turn those on. So I basically have you'll see my bass track input on and off mapped to these. So I can basically say, oh, I want bass, or I want my MIDI keyboard stuff. So now I got my bass selected, and I can choose chain selector. I want 808. Oh, I want different sounding 808s. And I can just have a sub now. I can change the sound, randomize the sound of the sub. Randomize the sound of the 808s. You see the immense flexibility here. Obviously, you can load in whatever you want. I will be giving you this 808 selector. This is samples I've selected, all in the same key. So when you play them, they're like tuned to the same key. This is from someone else. I don't know if I can give you this. And then you can just put out whatever bass guitar VST you want. But I recommend, it's going to depend on your genre of music and let you make what you want to put here. The flexibility is really at its core. You have a beautiful looper that you can set up, and I've developed a few tricks to make it really just fun to play on. For my live instruments, this is where I run my guitar through. So I basically have, yet again, another chain selector, chain selecting between different guitar rigs, different sounds I like, and I can just change those sounds over here. See that? Just as easy as that. I got lots of different guitar sounds. So you're seeing a pattern here, tons of chain selector, setting up your favorite sounds, your favorite VSTs, not killing your, the reason we're using the chain selector with the MIDI on and off trick, or the on and off trick, is we can turn our, basically keep our CPU down and turn off the tracks when we're not using them, and only have that track that we're using on at that time and nothing else is on. Okay, for the mic input, I basically just have an auto tune. If I want to be able to auto tune here, and I can turn my mic up. Ooh, yeah. Ooh. Little awkward. So we can turn that on or off actually with the 7 button. Yep. And then, yeah, we could obviously just turn our main effects on. This is the effect rack that I haven't shown you. And then, yeah, we can turn that off if we just want to record, like a simple snap into here or whatever. We can do anything into the mic that we want and loop that. And that is how all the inputs work. Each of them are kind of unique in their own way and fun, but we got chain selectors with our favorite sounds and a lot of built up work in the beginning to make those sounds. And a lot of this you're going to get in this free template. And then you're just going to have freedom to play and be in the moment and flow and create the best music ever after that. Let's talk effects. Okay, so we got the MIDI Twister Fighter set up to affect each of our individual tracks, kind of like I've shown you. Basically, these top 8 knobs are affecting the inputs, the 5 inputs, and these bottom 8 are affecting the outputs. I'll go over really quick what each of these effects is doing, but you will get this effect rack. You're just gonna have to MIDI map it, but you're gonna get everything in this effect rack already given to you with this template. I'll just use a simple piano sound to show you what each effect does. This is the on and off switch for the effect rack globally, like for all of them at the same time. And then this is for the individual tracks. So like I already explained that. This is adding reverb, dry and wet. And then if you hold down the MIDI Twister Fighter, one of the really cool things about the MIDI Twister Fighter is you can map a different thing here. I have a reverb selector type. So you can see the reverb select is changing when I hold it down versus move it up or down is the dry wet. Then I have the dry wet of the delay. You know what delay does, and we got different types of delay. And then we got echo, dry wet, and different types of echo. Could definitely make those. I want to get more effects in here, but this is a good start. A lot of this, you just got to come back and make a version 2 of this and do even better. I want to kind of run back through the effects later. Okay, this is a rhythmic gator. You can, it basically has different gates that happen that make a different rhythmic sound depending on how you twist it. You can get some really cool rhythms with that. Then you have an EQ selector here, just on and off, and EQ selector. This is just on and off as well. No extra functionality when we hold down. We have different sounds going when we choose different EQs. And we have a high pass and a low pass. That MIDI mapping was fun. But yeah, you can also see with the MIDI Twister Fighter why it's cool too. You can have that indent basically showing you where the middle is, and you can click this knob to go back to the middle. Really fun and musical there. This is an arpeggiator. Different times that the arpeggiator has, and then you can hold it down and choose different arpeggiated sequences. So that's fun. And yeah, you're on and off. Okay, so that's the input section, controlling your inputs. Now, bottom 8 is the outputs. Basically, it's a mirror of up here. Everything's basically the same except this guy, don't mind the rainbow, except this guy is like beat repeat that I need to fix. It's not quite right, but basically if we play something. Not quite right, but that's going to be a better beat repeat. This is the on and off for all of that again. And to save CPU power, I did have it so you could like turn the output effects off for individual of these 5 tracks, but I ended up going away from that and using just one effect rack for all of them to save CPU power, because as you can see, even on my MacBook 2, to open up a new track takes about 4 or 5 seconds. And that's still pretty rough when you're trying to be in the flow. But generally, if you're not actually trying to produce anything in here, you don't need to make new tracks. That's the good news, but you can just see it. It is a pretty CPU intensive set. Okay, we've gone over the effects. That's basically it. There's a few more fun things hidden in here. Like for instance, if we take this demo track and we're like, I just want to erase all of that and start again, we can press this button here and there's nothing there anymore. We could also Control Z, bring it back. That's really amazing and really powerful, all thanks to the one button looper. I didn't show before, but you can actually press this and get different randomized sounds. That's super fun. Sometimes it doesn't work quite right, but yeah, basically randomizes the sounds. Another cool thing is I selected drum tracks that just basically are already pre-made to give me a little, you know, inspiration when I don't want to make a drum track or I'm trying to stay in the flow with my friends or whatever. So each scene, I just chose some different loops I liked. Obviously, you can change this out to your heart's content, and I'll be doing that myself. You can also control that volume here or just turn it off altogether, or it's also controlled there. So that's really beautiful and fun. And, you know, you could just lay on top of it. There are a few more bonus features that either I've forgotten or things I didn't want to cover because they're not as fleshed out, like a sampler and stuff. So you might find those in the template when you open them. If you made it this far, I'm really appreciative of you listening, and I hope you got something from this. Go download the template, play around with it, and let me know in the comments what you need, because honestly, I was recording this video to see, like, one, the response, if people even want this, and kind of like feel it out. And if enough people want it, I'll make sure to create a MIDI mapping guide. I don't know if that'll be free or paid, but probably the only reason I'd do it paid is because this honestly just takes a lot of time. And yeah, I don't know. So I'm just kind of putting it out there, and hopefully you guys get something cool, some ideas at the very least from this. The reason I didn't use the Boss RC505 is because I ended up getting it. One, it was like $500 or whatever, but two, I had some issues, but mainly I wanted to be able to live inside of Ableton, meaning I could just do everything inside of Ableton, whether it's the effects or recording all these tracks, and be able to manipulate and edit them and not have to do some convoluted workaround to get the tracks into Ableton. I spent hours trying to figure out the Boss RC505, and wow, it's really cool. And especially if you want to be already at home and walking around, you're going to want that most likely. I really love that I built it into the Novation Launch Control XL using nothing but MIDI mapping and this one button live looper. I think that's really cool and unique, and I haven't seen any videos on it. So if you got nothing else from this video, just set that up and you're gonna have a lot of fun being able to just loop. You know, I like 5 tracks. That's what the Boss RC505 did. I thought about a lot of, like, how can I fit all my different musical instruments into 5 tracks? And I guess that's probably why they did 5 tracks. So yeah, you're gonna get a lot more flexibility, and it's technically cheaper. You don't have to have a Boss RC505. You just need a Launch Control XL, and you can do pretty much everything it can do, minus some effects, but you get all your Ableton effects, and yeah, it's really cool. Another thing to note is I know this setup is not identical to ARIatHome. I totally get that. If you're wanting an exact breakdown like ARIatHome, I don't know that, nor have I don't think anyone's figured that out yet, because he hasn't shared. Obviously he has the rig breakdown, but he doesn't go into the depth into the Ableton set and, you know, the numeric keyboard. I would love if you have good ideas and you know how to set up MIDI mapping, even for the chain selector, how to do Max for Live faster, one-click button to do all the chain selecting stuff because it's super annoying, or you know how he did CliffX and Bow MIDI translator. If anyone can help me with that, I would be forever grateful. There's definitely stuff I want to improve here, and this is, to me right now, kind of a lifelong set. I'm just going to keep on making it better. Probably spent 30 to 50 hours in here, like tweaking it and making it better. And honestly, I don't think you're going to need to at all, because hopefully I'll save you a lot of the brain damage figuring out a lot of this stuff. Some of it seems simple, and maybe it is, but it took me a while to figure out. But yeah, your setup is going to be different than my setup, and that I don't think anyone's going to get the exact ARIatHome experience until he shares exactly how, you know, everything interacts and exactly what, like if he's using CliffX and Bohm and how his entire set. I think it's gonna be really hard to build. I'm sure at some point he'll share or someone will build it, but this is a pretty close approximation of it. And it was also just for me. I built this for me and no one else. And then I was like, well, I should share it because people probably want to see it. And so I'm making this video to see if people are into it.